Welcome to episode 3 of the Grip Strip Podcast. Matthew, I'm your host, and as always, I'm with my co-host, the iRacing Indy 500 champion, computer genius, a gentleman and a scholar. His name is Joshua Fine. What's going on, man?
Doing great, Phil. Of course, great weekend of racing here between IndyCar F1 and NASCAR, and lots of other things going on in the world of motorsports. So, ready to get into it.
Yeah, we're going to be discussing the Indy cars at Baba this past weekend, which saw Alex Palou get another victory, but it wasn't as straightforward as it might have been if the stats may show. In the Cup Series, William Clyde Elliott II gets another Martinsville win for Hendrick Motorsports. First win for the new Chevy body after Denny Hamlin dominated. O'Reilly Series was Justin Allgaier, so continuing his momentum. At the Japanese Grand Prix, it was Kimi Antonelli, won the pole, didn't have the best start, but utilized a safety car intervention for Ollie Bierman's massive wreck near the spoon curve to pit and then take the lead over and go on to a second consecutive victory and go into this first month-long break of the season with the points lead, becoming the youngest ever driver to lead the points in Formula One. We'll get into Indy NXT, which took place last week at Barber. MotoGP and Moto2 was at COTA. Supercross at Detroit last week. They'll be at St. Louis this week. World Superbikes were at the Algarve. I was wrong I thought it was Estrel's Algarve, so my fault on that. And then Super Formula at Motegi. I'll at least try to make an attempt to pronounce some people's names if I know who they are. We'll preview and make picks for O'Reilly and Craftsman Trucks at Rockingham. ARCA supposedly is also there. How do I know that? Because Squirrel will be supposedly running that race after running in the ARCA race at Hickory, which was quite a motley crew of drivers. Holy mother of God. After you got past about 2 or 3 of them, the kid whose dad runs Cookout, who runs for JGR, and then Tristan McKee, who runs for Spire. And then Derek Nealon, the spotter for Kyle Busch. The rest of that field was pretty fucking god awful. But I guess when you have the money, you can afford a K&N or an ARCA car, then you could start an ARCA race. That's really what that's what happened to the E Series, ladies and gentlemen. It used to be a stomping ground, a proving ground for drivers. Now you could literally just be going and be an ass scratcher and go and write a check and say, hey, NASCAR, can you approve me for a license, and get in there. But speaking, well, I guess we can, it's a bad reference, but Cletus will be trying to make his O'Reilly Series debut at Rockingham. I'm not sure about the weather for this weekend. He'll need to make it in on time because he doesn't have points. So we'll see. We'll talk about that. Josh will let us know all things going on iRacing gaming in the sim segment, and we'll call it a day. So yeah, let's do the Children's of Alabama Indy Grand Prix at Baba Motorsports Park. Alex Palou qualified on pole on Saturday, and it was a 3-stop race for everybody. There was no yellows. There was a clean and green race, and Palou led 79 laps, but the Arrow McLaren driver Christian Lundgaard and his team had figured out strategy in terms of tire use earlier in the race, trying to get an offset, and were in position possibly to beat Alex Palou if they had had a clean final pit stop. Unfortunately for Lundgaard, that didn't happen. They dropped the jack, I think, a little early. They had issues with the right rear tire. There was, I think they had some like fuel. There might have been something with the fuel, like connection coming, like the removal of the fuel hose, but definitely the right rear tire. And from that point, that was it. Palou got the lead back, went off on his way, and gets his second win of 2026, his 21st win of his IndyCar career. What is, likely going to be a Hall of Fame type. We talk about it from last week when they were talking about the Hall of Fame with NASCAR. I don't think it's too early to say the guy's already a Hall of Famer with 4 championships and 20 plus wins. And he's nowhere near done, we don't think so. For Palou, went out there, does Alex Palou things, the DHL Honda, gets the victory. Lundgaard ends up having to pass Graham Rahal late in the race to get back to second. Rahal gets his first podium in 3 years. I can go and get the notes here. Yeah. Palou, he won by 13.27 seconds over Lundgaard. He's won the title both times he's won at Barber before, so we'll see if he goes 3 for 3. Rahal, Indy Road Course, August 2023, he made the Firestone Fast 6. There wasn't a whole lot of movement in the top 10 here. From the top 11, only 2 cars kind of moved up, really. Lundgaard from 10th to 2nd, and then Scott Dixon 13th to 7th. Otherwise, everybody else in the top 11 started in that realm. So Grosjean started 6th but had issues and finished 15th. That's the one outlier there. Palou, Lundgaard, Rahal, your podium. Malukas was catching Rahal, started on the front row, finished 4th. Kyle Kirkwood, another top 5 finish for him. Marcus Armstrong was 6th after starting 4th. I mentioned Dixon. Root Beer Floathead, Marcus Ericsson, Joseph Newgarden, your top 10. Alexander Rossi was 11th. Will Power wrecked in practice and qualifying, whatever, and had to start 23rd, came up to 12th. So that Pato Award had a terrible day. Finished only one position, couple of seconds out of his teammate, Nolan Siegel. The rookies struggled at Barber with Collette in 21st, Hauger 23rd, and Mick Schumacher in 24th. So, for Palou, it looked like it was smooth sailing. I think one of the middle stints there where they were trying to manage a used set of reds, he lost some time, and Lundgaard was able to make up, or he was on a used set of primary tires, and Lundgaard was on reds, made up time, was trying to get that offset, and it looked like it was going to work, but in the end, they had a pit issue, and Alex Palou being Alex Palou.
Alex Palou is inevitable, as they say. But yeah, for him, another win at Barber, another win on a natural road course for Alex Palou there. So, mostly, this race was all Alex Palou for the most part. But yeah, like you said, the middle portion of the race. Christian Lundgaard, of course, starting out on the primaries um, at the beginning of the race, that allowed him to make time throughout the field, and that led to him being able to take the lead during the pit cycle um, on lap 50 there, and then he was able to kind of keep his way throughout the field and um, able to take the lead on that next pit cycle. Um, with 25 close to 25 laps to go there, but then of course right rear tire for the pit crew on his final stop. They had trouble getting it off or getting it on there. So um, for pit crew, of course, huge letdown for Lundgaard to try to win the race because I think it definitely would have been a lot more interesting than what that race had been up until that point there. So yeah, for Lundgaard, a lost opportunity at a early season win, and definitely for Pillow back in the winners column, of course now, and once again now in contention for the point standings now. As now we've had 4 races here in the season now, so yeah, for Pillow, 2 points behind Kyle Kirkwood here, so yeah, still not the point leader, of course, but momentum for him right back into it. After the somewhat rough start that he had at Phoenix there when he wrecked out, and then last race at Arlington, of course, overtaken in the final stages by Kirkwood here, and now only 2 points back. So yeah, momentum swinging back in his direction, of course. But again for Arrow McLaren, at least for Christian Lundgaard, a missed opportunity for a win, but still within earshot of the championship, of course. On the other end, like you said, his teammate Pato Award, terrible race there for him. So still some work to do there for Arrow McLaren. But yeah, I would think we'd be remiss to not mention Graham Rahal, of course. Graham Rahal, yeah, first podium since 2023 at the Indianapolis Road Course. That season, finishing second to Scott Dixon in that one, and then here not quite as fast as Alex Plo, of course, but was in second for a good majority of the race, and then at the end of the race was able to still get third. I think Lundgaard was a little bit better on pace there at the end, and got overtaken there for second with about 2 or 3 laps to go, and then really had to fight to hold on to third there at the end. So for Graham Rahal, of course, they haven't had the best results over the last 2 or 3 years for um, his team at Rahal Letterman Lanigan there. So for him, kind of the season that they've had to start off with, it's kind of the first 4 races have kind of been up and down in terms of the results, but if you look at what he did at Phoenix and what he did here at the Barber Motorsports Park, could bode well for the season. We only have one street course here, or a handful of street courses here throughout the rest of the season, but there are more road courses here on the schedule, and certainly more ovals for him to contest on. So um, could could see some interesting results here for Graham Hall and some of those tracks coming up. So we'll have to see what he's able to produce here as we go throughout the season and everything. So yeah, for Below, of course, I mean, it only really got interesting at the end. Yeah, and then I think also kind of what helped open that up was him and Mick Schumacher coming off the pits there on his final stop, kind of got held up there by Schumacher, so that kind of opened the door for Lundgaard to potentially take that lead. Of course, if that pit stop didn't go wrong there at the end for him. So yeah, it was definitely not the best race, but certainly that ending there was at least made it a little bit interesting to watch there. But yeah, for the other drivers in this race, with how everything went. I mean, Will Power 23rd to 12th there in that race, so definitely after the qualifying mishap for him, qualifying crash, bit of a good recovery there and made up the most positions there um, at the end, but although didn't get into the top 10. Scott McLaughlin, of course, really good in practice and everything, but unable to, after the practice crash he had. Pretty wild there. Haven't really seen an IndyCar, um, go through the catch fence there in practice. It was definitely I mean, unfortunately, for him, definitely a highlight. In the wrong way, of course, but definitely, the only real um, crashing that happened that weekend. With him going through the catch fence, but thankfully he was okay and everything. He was able to get out. But yeah, I guess just the angle of how he was going in there kind of remind me of that crash Joseph Newgarden had in qualifying at Road America a couple years ago. But with that corner with the wall kind of sloped downhill, of course, and he touched um, the grass there. He spun out and momentum kind of carried him up into the air briefly and then kind of through that catch fence. So, yeah, thankfully all the safety equipment and everything for the catch fence worked, and he was able to not leave the track there completely, and go on the other side of that catch fence and go for a little bit of a ride there, which could have been worse, but he was able to get out and um, continue on and, get ready for qualifying there. So, but besides that, yeah, it wasn't as good of a result there for the weekend there with that, but I think it was okay. So, yeah, I mean, now we're kind of in the swing of things here, and now we have a couple weeks off for IndyCar and everything. So now, yeah, Long Beach Grand Prix, and certainly, yeah, an opportunity. I mean, for these two guys at the top of the standings, Kirkwood, of course, are really good at street courses, and has won the Long Beach Grand Prix in the past. Of course, Alex Palou also fairly good on street courses. Won the opening race here of the season at St. Pete. So, two of the top guys here going into one of the marquee races in the calendar here at Long Beach coming up. So should be interesting as that race develops and those two guys go at it. So, yeah, we're getting in here into the swing of things here in IndyCar for sure.
Yeah, 4 races in a month. It was interesting compared to what IndyCar scheduling has been in the past. Now we're going to have a little bit of downtime, a few weeks between Barber and Long Beach, then a couple of weeks before the Indy Road Course. But as once they get into the Indianapolis 500, then there's going to be a little bit more of a pace of more weekly racing for the IndyCar series. Things are going to pick up a lot after from the Indy 500 on through the early September. So we'll see how that goes. But a good respite for the teams that are working their butts off to get these cars out on the racetrack. Kirkwood, as Josh mentioned, still leads the points, has finished in the top 5 in all 4 races. Palou, and with 1 win, Palou has 2 wins, first one to get to 2 wins, and 3 top 5s so far, and has led the most laps. Lundgaard, with his second place finish, stays or is in third. Lucas in fourth, 3 points ahead of his teammate Joseph Newgarden. Pato Award falls to sixth. These are all the drivers that have over 100 points so far. Scott McLaughlin, Marcus Ericsson tied for 7th in points. Marcus Armstrong in 9th, and Scott Dixon in 10th. Marcus Armstrong and Dario Franchitti, or they were having quite a conversation on the practice show. It was kind of funny. I saw a clip with um where he got a bunch of Dario's friends at St. Pete to go and come and do a roast on him, which that was cute. Bray Hall up to 12th. He's only 3 points out of the top 10, which is, of course, Scott Dixon. And then Will Powers a further 5 points behind Ray Hall there. I'll see those guys at Long Beach. Okay, let us move over to the Cookout 400, which was pretty processional, relatively clean, not a whole lot going on. Typical of a lot of the races at this track with this next gen car. Um, Denny Hamlin led 292 of the race's 400 laps, but strategy by Alan Gustafson for Chase Elliott. And then late race, the last restart there, triggered by a wreck caused by Darrell Walsh Jr., taking out a few cars in the process, gave the lead to William Clyde Elliott II. He led the last 70. What was it? He led the last 72 laps in the race to held off Dennis Hamlin there to get the victory. First victory, as I mentioned, for Chevy, the new Chevy body. First victory of the year for Hendrick, et cetera, et cetera. Elliott getting his 22nd career Cup Series win. I think it's the second or third win at Martinsville. Elliott over Hamlin, Logano recovery after terrible Darlington, continues his top 10 streak. Now 11 straight top 10s in at Martinsville. Keebler, Gibbs, William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, Gumby, Cindric, Larson, Josh Berry started 30, ended up 10th. Shane Van Gisbergen started 5th, got stage wins both stages, finished 11th. Prix was 12th. Not based on those 11, there really wasn't a whole heck of a lot of movement. I mean, Blaney made some ground. The biggest movers of the day were Brad Keselowski. It looks like there were 10 positions from 23rd to 13th, and then Chase Briscoe, who started 27th and finished 14th. Multiple times he was a lap down, had to get the lap back, so it was a long day for him. Tyler Reddick ended up getting stage points in both stages, but only finished 15th, and a off day for the 2311 team. In terms of leaders, there were only 6 leaders of the race, and outside of Elliott and Hamlin, nobody led more than 14 laps. Once you get past Reddick, nobody else scored stage points, so there goes that. Strategy came into play. Bubba had made a mistake. That, what is it? Freddie came on there, the door bumper clear, and said, we can't be doing that. Bubba was not happy on the radio with Charles DeNike when they're telling him stuff. The engineers were telling him stuff they had to do with the car. The car wasn't handling well. The 2311 team seemingly does well in practice at Martinsville, but then in the race, they don't seem to have the same productivity. For Reddick, he limited the damage, I guess, points-wise for him. But for Hamlin, lost opportunity there after dominating the majority of the race. I had one segment where I guess he was a little bit off, but otherwise had been the car to beat. And Clyde goes out there and gets the victory there in Martinsville, gives Hendrick their first win. It's the longest they said that Hendrick has went without a win in I don't know how many years, but Clyde goes out there and gets the job done for Mr. H.
Yeah, no, for Chase Elliott there, the earliest that he's ever won in a season to open a year. So good start to the year for him, of course, with this win here at Martinsville, of course. And yeah, what a better way to do it than at Martinsville for Team Hendrick there. So obviously their most successful story track that they won at throughout their history of that team and everything. But for Chase Elliott, of course, took strategy, of course. This was otherwise going to be the Denny Hamlin 400 on Sunday. So, they were able to get the strategy right and come out ahead during green flag pit stops. Almost led to him getting overtaken again by Denny. Um, during that green flag cycle, but those cautions there, two cautions there at the end. The first one with the debris from Ty Dillon kind of opened the door to letting Chase Elliott get on the same tire cycle as Danny Hamlin there, and then of course Bubba Wallace bumping, and then piled you know getting into Carson Hocevar there, that also kind of open the door there for Elliott to come through with it and hold on to the lead there. Yeah, Denny, of course, yeah, dominating car throughout the race, but then, yeah, at the end just didn't have it. Thought maybe he would have it on tires, but um, excuse me there, but for Chase Elliott was able to hold him off there at the end, just picking off lap traffic and getting through things efficiently. But yeah, for Denny Hamlin there, apparently he said he has a loose wheel at the end, so that kind of maybe led to him not being as good. But maybe that's could be true. But then also, if you look at the final restart there, he kind of got into kind of ran Ryan Blaney into the wall there. So I wonder if they made contact, how they made contact, if that hurt the car in any way that took away some kind of pace from his team. So yeah, for Denny, kind of missed opportunity there. Of course, dominating win or dominating race for him. So um, they'll have to look at that and see, because otherwise, we would be talking about, instead of Team Hendrick and Chase Elliott getting onto the board this year, we'd be also talking about Denny Hamlin, Toyota. 5 of the first 6 races here won by these guys, but now it's Chevy on the board. So yeah, for Gibbs, they've gone out to have a good start to the year so far, of course, minus your guy Chase Briscoe there for whatever reason. But yeah, Denny had a great race. Ty Gibbs had a good race. Seabell had a great race as well, finishing top 10. So um, yeah, for Denny, missed opportunity, but also still was able to score the most points in the race there, obviously with the fastest lap point there and winning both stages. So this is the one case where I guess because they tried to design the new point system where the winner is supposed to have the most points scored, but I guess there is an exploit now. If you win both stages and finish second and you get the fastest lap, then I guess you can potentially score more points than the winner if they also aren't in the stage point standings at the end of the stages. So, um, yeah, for Chase, obviously didn't get any stage points, so wasn't able to score any, and that's how you score less there than second. So, seems like it's a rare case there, but I'm sure maybe it could happen throughout the rest of the year. But um, it seemed like to me like Chase Elliott just didn't have the pace compared to Denny, of course, compared to the rest of the field, but they were able to get up there on strategy, of course. Ryan Blaney looked like he had kind of the speed, but of course, at the end got kind of ran into the wall there by Denny um, there, and so he wasn't able to make too much of that there. So could have, for Blaney, could have maybe finished in third place there. So, um, instead of 6, but one other guy that probably should have finished top 10, Shane Van Gisbergen, of course, finished 11th, ran top 10 throughout the entire race, and got stage points there as well. So, um, they're showing, I mean, before he started full time, that was his best result in the oval. So, yeah, he's starting to put it together here pretty soon. So, I think ovals starting to really come into play for him. He was good a couple weeks ago at Phoenix, and now he's had almost a top 10 here at Martinsville. So, yeah, for SVG, he's starting to click on some good results here. So, um, more consistency there for the 97 crew. So, yeah, and then Ross Chastain, of course, kind of had the same. I think he kind of had the same strategy as Chase Elliott there, but just didn't have the same speed and kind of fell back after being up there, on those 2 restarts. So, still had a decent run there, leading laps there for his team there. But yeah, of course, the incident with Bubba Wallace and Hocevar, of course. Yeah, that was, I don't really know much to say about that, but I guess with this new point system, you have to pick and choose your battles and everything, and um, there's evidence, I guess, that this wasn't intentional. If you look at the onboard replay, he wasn't really in the throttle on the center of the corner there. But of course, he also, sent it in there into turn three and rammed into um, Hocevar there. So, there's obviously how one action kind of led to the other. So, obviously, frustration kind of boiling over there, and now drops from third in the standings all the way down to 11th. Although he is in a tie for eighth, so it's not um, like he completely fell out of the top 10, but because of the way the tiebreakers work and everything, he's back in 11th place, tied for eighth. So um, yeah, not really the race that you want to have for Bubba. Of course, 2 weeks in a row now. Darlington, of course, had the incident where Denny Hamlin got into it with Eric Jones and kind of got a piece of that, and that kind of killed his day there. Finished in the 30s now. Um, Finished 36th, out of the race with only 1 point. So kind of shows you have to, in this point system, have to have consistency. You have to put together good results week to week. That's why Reddick is up there. That's why Chase Elliott, of course, the win helps, but he's up there as well. Ryan Blaney up there. So yeah, for guys, the bottom half of the standings, you really got to put together good results. To be able to get your way up in the standings. Of course, Ty Gibbs, that's one example, was not in a good spot after their first two races of the year. And now he's up to sixth in the standings. So, string together a good set of races, you could find yourself in a pretty good point standing spot. You can put together consistent results. So, yeah, I mean, otherwise, I mean, yeah, this wasn't too eventful. Almost kind of like the IndyCar race in a way. Not too eventful on Sunday, but some things did happen towards the end to make it interesting. And yeah, talking about Chase Elliott here, yeah, getting his first win on the year, and certainly putting himself into the conversation early on here into the season of who's going to end up being in that top three in the standings, top four. That we probably will end up being a contender for the championship once the chase starts.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be in play. I think this format suits him to a T. And once they figure out this new body style on the different types of tracks, he's going to be dangerous. I mean, coming out there, Gustafson and him make that move and they make a good restart, go out there and get the win. But they've been up there weekly. I mean, even going all the way back to the 500, he was leading the race with half a lap to go. He was leading the race coming off of 4. So it's like he's been up there all year. He may not have been the fastest guy, but he's been up there and maximizing those results. You mentioned it with Bubba, 2 straight 30-plus finishes. Briscoe is proof of that, where, you can run up front and then not get any stage points and then fall and finish tailback, and then you just completely implode your day and then you lose tons of points. And I mean, even yesterday, I personally now, this is the latest example where I feel like there's something going on with the 19 car where they're not giving them the best stuff. It's almost like they swapped the stuff with Ty Gibbs because Chris Gabehart blew up his spot for being a dick and a spoiled piece of crap. And then all of a sudden, now the guy seems like he can actually drive a race car conveniently. And then Chase Briscoe, who last year won 3 races, was qualifying on poles left and right, was coming off the truck reasonable on a regular basis now can't hit the side of a barn and he's driving around with his buddy Noah Gagson. I mean, like, come on, man. I get that Johnny Morris is very loyal and he's a really big sponsor in this sport. So I don't think they're going to give up on Chase, and I don't think he's giving up, or James Small or any of that. Maybe they don't have the best handle of this short track package. Maybe. But I would say then why did they run well at Phoenix? And then why did they run well at, COTA before they had issues? Then Darlington last week, he was running up front until right late in the race. And then, so I mean, it's just not finishing. Yesterday he did finish, but the problem was most of the day was just a cluster. Vegas was a cluster too, but he finished. So if he's able to get out of his own, if they're able to get out of their own goddamn way, they can get top fives, top tens, be up there with the rest of his team. It makes me nauseous knowing he's behind Keebler Gibbs, because I don't think Keebler Gibbs is that good. And I also don't think that they're giving him the same stuff. If they were giving him the same stuff, then we wouldn't be having this conversation, because I think he would have finished at COTA, he would have finished at Phoenix, and he'd probably be in the top 10 in points. But at least there's a week off there for Bubba. Also, a week off to be with his new baby daughter and Bex and celebrate Easter. Reset for his team, reset for the 19, come back at Bristol and start that next run of races with a positive spin and go from there, because that's what you got to do, really, after what they've been doing here recently. Reddick, I think he might have lost a couple points in the end to Blaney. That's about it, really. Still 95-point lead. Wallace, or no, that's from Goodyear 400, so that's incorrect. Have to go and come over here. So yeah, Blaney now is 82 points behind, so lost 13 points to Blaney this past weekend. Hamlin gets now into third, 94 points back. Chase Elliott is fourth, so all the winners so far this year in top four in points. So I guess there is something to be said about winning. Byron, fifth. Gibbs, sixth. Bell, Keselowski, Larson, Busher. Busher, the big, and Wallace, the two big losers on the weekend. Busher had nothing, had issues, and fell 3 spots in points. Wallace, as Josh mentioned, fell 8 spots. Logano moves up 4 spots to 12th. Prix, Van Gisbergen, and Hocevar, Suarez, your 16. All 3 Spire cars now are clustered together within 13 points of each other. Hocevar, Suarez, and McDowell. Cindric moved up 3 spots to 18th. Briscoe moved up to 21st in points. Forget the math there. 40 points out of 15th. 36 out of 16. So yeah, he's, and then I think it's like 75 out of 8th. That tie for 8th there, which is a full race, basically with stage wins and a race win, not a complete race if you get the fastest lap too on top of it, but basically that's there. So right now that's the difference, 75 points from 8th to where Briscoe is in 21st. So I mean, he may not make it up at Bristol in a couple of weeks' time, but a good run at Bristol to start that momentum and at Kansas could give him an opportunity before they head to Talladega, where he won last year in the fall. Some of the other guys, I mean, I'm trying to look at who. Yeah, Kyle Busch 24th. Where are we at? Zilich 33rd. And yeah, so that's the point. All right, let's go to the O'Reilly series here. No, so only one car is going to go home from Rockingham. I thought there was going to be 40, so two cars are going to go home. Only one is. The NFPA 250 was seemed like a demolition derby, but even with that, Justin Allgaier led the most laps, 114, won one of the stages, and won the race. So went out there, gets his 31st win, tying Jack Ingram for wins in the O'Reilly series. Corey Day was second, Sammy Smith third, Sheldon Creed fourth, Lee Pulliam making his O'Reilly Series debut was fifth and led the second most laps in the race. Hank Hill won stage two from 26th to 6th. Dean Thompson 22nd to 7th. Ross Chastain started tailback because of unapproved adjustments, finished 8th. Ryan Sieg 9th, and Brent Cruz finished 10th. Park Retzloff continuing his strong start to the season with an 11th. There were 25 cars on the lead lap. Other guys scattered through that got some stage points. Jesse Love in 12th, Taylor Gray 13th, Anthony Alfredo 15th, Bruckshot Jones 18th, William Swatch 20th, Sam Mayer 23rd, Raja Caruth, who got into it with Jesse Love, finished 25th, Harrison Burton, who was part of the carnage that was caused by one of the restarts with Lee Pulliam, finished 26th, Carson Kvapil 28th. So that's the stage points there. Scores, but I mean, there were 14 cautions for 153 laps, so 61% of the race was spent under yellow. Honestly thought that the change to the points might assist in making the racing maybe a little more cleaner, a little more logical. But yes, they when they go to Martinsville, if it's not a Cup Series race, I think, or a modified race, I mean even a Mazda MX-5 Cup race is cleaner than what these guys are doing. When the O'Reilly Series and the Truck Series goes there, it's like Mario Kart. Honest to God, like it is just straight up demo derby crap like you'd see on one of Cleet's videos. Like that's literally what we're getting. But in all of that, you need to be able to make it to the end and give yourself a chance. And Allgaier's doing that. And after probably what was a close call and what he might have felt was a missed opportunity last year, granted, Connor Zilich was the better, he won more races and all that stuff, and JRM, they had been so dominant through the whole year. I think Justin Allgaier's going out there with an intention this year, Josh, to go and try and win an elusive second championship as he adds on to what might be Hall of Fame numbers, depending on who you are.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, with the discussion over the past week. Of course, with whether Justin Allgaier is a Hall of Fame driver or not, in based on his Xfinity career or O'Reilly Auto Parts nationwide career, right, and all that stuff. And um, I mean, he's certainly been one of the best drivers, since he went to Junior Motorsports in this series. So, I mean, it's definitely a fair topic of discussion to have if he's Hall of Fame per his numbers in this series, right? Of course, the greater argument was whether it's the Hall of Fame for just the Cup drivers or is it everybody? And then people online were talking about like some of the old guys like Jack Ingram, Sam Ard, those guys who were the foundation of this series back in the day, when it started. And those guys should be in the Hall of Fame. But that was also a different series compared to where it is now. So, yeah, it's definitely an interesting discussion. I kind of lean towards yes. I mean, he's putting up Hall of Fame numbers in his run here, but um, it could go either way. So, but for now, of course, yeah, continuing to dominate this season, of course. Now with this win here. Um, Now he's at 3 wins on the season here so far. So, um, yeah, early on here, Justin Allgaier's looking like the early favorite to win this championship, of course. And maybe if he wins the championship, he hangs it up because he's starting to get up there in age. Not quite yet 40, of course, but he's definitely been in the the nationwide Xfinity O'Reilly Auto Parts series since 2009, a couple years in Cup that didn't pan out, and then back to this series since 2016 for Junior Motorsports. We'll see how long he decides to continue racing, but at least on Saturday, of course, he's playing Super Sub right now for the 48 car and Alex Bowman on Sundays right now. But certainly, O'Reilly Auto Parts series has been the guy to beat so far this season. So yeah, he's definitely up there, and I think definitely the favorite right now. But as far as the other guys in this race, I mean, Lee Pulliam probably could have won this race, maybe should have won this race when you look at it, because was definitely up there in the lead at the end. Last set of cautions, of course, had problems on the restart, whether he missed a shift or um, spun the tires, just couldn't get going. That's what led to that big accident that led to the red flag there that took out his teammate Carson Kvapil there, who was running well at the time, of course, running top five for Junior Motorsports there. So yeah, for Pulliam, of course, still first race um, in NASCAR competition here in the O'Reilly Series. Longtime short tracker here, getting an opportunity from Dale Jr. to at least have a taste of what it's like to race in the big leagues here. Um, but have an opportunity like that, so could lead to more opportunities. Maybe I don't know if it'll be a Josh Berry like thing, but certainly um, shows that at least on the short tracks, you can put him in one of these good cars and he can, contend for the win there. So, um, yeah, I'd like to see him. Maybe he'll come back and fall Martinsville, maybe potentially, or something like that, or another short track race. But yeah, definitely could see him back in this 9 car for sure. Corey Day, of course, finishing second, continue to improve on the year, quietly putting up top fives and top tens. And yeah, ever since the couple of incidents that he had to start the year, he's definitely simmered down, I think, and started to put up results week after week. So good to see him kind of cleaning it up here there. So um, yeah, the last caution, I guess, because yeah, the caution on the last lap of the race, Roger Caruth got into it with I think Jesse Love, and then they had a discussion on pit road. Apparently that was a fairly mature discussion between two young guys there. So for um Raja, I think Raja was running in the top five too, and he led 18 laps, so or top 10, and then ended up getting his day kind of screwed over there final lap there. So yeah, and then Jesse Love got into it with him there at the end. So, yeah, for Raja, of course, first race back in the 88 car after being in 32 last couple of races here. Not the result he probably wanted. Track where he started second and definitely had a really good car for the day. So, yeah, not the result he wanted there. Another guy, Brad Perez, of course, sponsored by Bubba Wallace amongst other people, crowdfunding him their 21st in the 42 car. So good result for him being able to run this race with support from other people, showing him, what he can do in this series. When he at least has good funding there. Garrett Smithley, of course, maybe the most intriguing paint scheme of the weekend with the Windows XP theme going on there. I like that. That was pretty cool. One of the OG operating systems back in the day for people like me. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, all these cautions and stuff throughout the race, 14 yellows, hardly really ever a green flag run. I mean, there's one green flag run here on the lap count, two green flag runs here on the lap counter, where they went over 30 laps. Those beginning, um, and then the middle of stage three there. So, I mean, it's just typical Martinsville racing here. It seems like for the second tier NASCAR series, truck series, right up there as well. Um, I mean, it's just I think it's just because it's a lot of young guys trying to prove themselves, trying to do something, and then this track's tight racing all around, and it just leads to this type of thing. So, I think it's just the product of the people you know competing here and everything. There's I mean, the Cup Series. I mean, if we were running the old car, Gen 6, maybe not 14 yellows, but there'd definitely be a lot of guys cleaning each other out, like you see in trucks and O'Reillys. So, um, I think next gen makes it look a little bit different, but it's just how Martinsville's always kind of been for these guys and everything. But I mean, I think even the late model series races, the 300-mile races that they do for late models. I think even that has some argy bargy going on in there. So I think it's just typical Martinsville. But yeah, I would like to see at least some type of clean racing, green flag racing here this series at Martinsville. Um, yeah, I don't think the point system changed anything, but maybe when they come back in the fall, when it's one race to go before Homestead, maybe there'll be some semblance of clean driving, especially if the title is on the line in this series, which I could be in doubt if Justin Allgaier continues to dominate the way he has. Could be decided by Martinsville in the fall, but if it isn't, they'd better hope that there's at least a clean race so that that championship doesn't get affected. But um, I think probably easier said than done. But yeah, I mean, it's another wild O'Reilly series race here at Martinsville.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with you on the fact that I think probably something to do with who's driving. Just desperation, I guess. If you're not up front, you're trying to get up front, so you're willing to do whatever. So you're going to ship it and destroy somebody. If it doesn't destroy you, it doesn't matter. But for Allgaier, kept it clean, kept it reasonable. Pit stops were good, and put himself in a position to get that job done for Pulliam. I agree that if he was able to get the gearbox and get those tires working the way he needed them to, the guy's been around forever. He knows how to drive. He was totally unintentional. He felt terrible. Junior was sitting there. They were dying laughing on the broadcast, listening to Junior's comments on the radio to Pulliam. But I mean, for Lee Pulliam, I mean, there's emotion, a lot of emotion this past weekend with for him for getting this opportunity after so many years. Gary Woodland battling with PTSD post having brains surgery, finally or going back and winning for the first time on the PGA Tour since that, and since he won the U.S. Open, what was it, 7 years ago or whatever it was, 8 years, whatever it is. Then you had Boog Kroll winning the USBC Masters week after, being the number one seed and bowling one of the worst games in a title match in a while and having to fade the best player in the world. So a lot of emotion, a lot of good stories and stuff like that for Pulliam. I hope he does get another drive, whether it's Richmond or Martinsville or something, whatever, somewhere. I think it would be awesome to see him back in the car Yeah, and then for Carson Guapel, I think what might have been for him could have possibly gotten that win. Harrison Burton's had a brutal start to the year. He was running up there with a chance, and Dean Thompson ended up finishing seventh, so he would have probably been up somewhere around there. Roger Carruth has to, when he's in that 88 car, needs to maximize his opportunities. So just like his mentor, mistake made that probably didn't need to be, and handled it well. Downforce Danny was getting in Raja's kitchen there, threatening him, because that would be Danny Stockman. But we'll see how it all goes at Rockingham this coming weekend. Points heading into the race this coming weekend at the Rock. Allgaier leading the points by 92 over Jesse Love. 116 over Sheldon Creed. Hill, Quapple lost 2 spots in points after the wreck there. Sammy Smith in 6th. Corey Day, Buckshot Jones, Parker Retzloff in 9th. Roger Carruth 10th. Mayer and Gray. So no changes in the points from 6th on back. Anthony Alfredo moves up after a solid run to 13th. And remember, he missed the first race of the season with this 96 team at Daytona and they had to buy a ride for him for points. So interesting how that has worked out for him. William Sawalich, point behind Alfredo. They're 20 and 21 points back of Gray. Ryan Sieg up there, 24 points back. Brennan Poole, 25. So that's a cluster there amongst those 4 drivers. You have Jeb Burton up there. Dean Thompson made up 4 spots. Brent Cruz, after not being in the last few races, moved up 8 spots to 21st. He's still 71 points out of 12th, so gonna need to win, honestly. At a minimum, multiple wins, I think, because he's gonna be missing some of these shows until he turns 18. So we'll see how that goes. All right, Formula One. Japanese Grand Prix, Suzuka Classic Track. With the the qualifying was interesting, somewhat intriguing in terms of how they were having to do it with these new regulations. Was able to catch the race, thankfully, because I saw the timings falling in and out of sleep on Saturday. Oscar Piastri actually started a race, so we would have lost out on. I guess if we had done the McLaren bet, we'd have lost out on that one. Even though Lando Norris did have issues with his battery, whatever system, whatever they call it, and now his energy stores or battery, whatever it is, he's used up all his full allotment of them. And they're only 3 races into the season, which is not good for them. But McLaren's actually started the race and actually made it to the end. The Mercedes had a bad start again, but they came back through quickly. Ferrari, at least with Lewis Hamilton, along with Andrea Kimi Antonelli, who had started on pole, benefited from the Ollie Bierman shunt at Spoon Curve, triggered by by Franco Colapinto's slowing Alpine. Uh, so there was that. Lance Stroll did DNF. He did DNF on lap 30. So I guess I was sort of right. One Aston Martin DNF'd at lap 30, not both. Fred Alonso, post the birth of his son, um, actually finished the race and finished a lap down. So there is that. But Antonelli used the safety car intervention for Bierman to pit. From there, after the restart, ran off and ended up winning by 13.7 seconds over Oscar Piastri. Leclerc ended up finishing third after Lewis Hamilton had issues trying to defend, had power issues that relegated Lewis from third back down to sixth, where he started the race, actually. Claire Russell, Norris, Hamilton, Gasly, great weekend for him. Fish Lips was eighth, complaining the whole way, bitched at a reporter, whining like a little piece of shit that he is, saying that he may leave the sport leaves Formula One after this year. And I'm like, all right, go ahead. A lot of his fans will be sad about it, but I won't be. He can go and run GT3s, and then he'll complain in a GT3 car because the guy's got character defects anyway. Liam Lawson and Esteban Ocon, and two guys that are driving for their jobs, finished 9th and 10th. Audis fall just short of points there. It was a close battle between Lawson all the way 9 seconds separating the drivers 9th through 14th. And so that was the Toro Rossos, the Audis, the remaining Haas, and then Isaac Hadjar there. But Kimi Antonelli was able to go out there. He did get the pole, take advantage of George Russell having some struggles. And then on Sunday, utilized timing in his favor to go and make that pit stop. And then once he got in the lead, he just got away. And the youngest ever points leader in the history of the Formula One World Championship is Andrea Kimi Antonelli, Josh. And he gets to sit on that for a good month now because of our current circumstances in the world.
Yeah, it's going to be a good month to be the F1 point leader here for Kimi Antonelli for sure. But yeah, I mean, he obviously he's gotten out to tremendous start here to start the year, and 2 wins. I mean, uh, between him and George Russell, I mean, I think obviously probably one of them is going to end up winning the world championship. I think. I mean, yeah, it would be crazy if it was Kimi Antonelli at the young age that he is, but we'll see how things shake out here over this month as teams try to figure out the new regulations and everything. But um, yeah, the what he was able to do on Sunday, yeah, he was able to win the race and um, do it quite handedly. So it was yeah, another race where Mercedes, the engine package that they have compared to the rest of the field, they're continuing to able to dominate the races like they usually do. But at least with guys like Piastri, who hadn't had a start, but now this race they were able to finally get going here and lead laps. And have at least a shot at the win. Um, that certainly a positive from especially with McLaren there, what they have gone through the last race not starting and then Piastri not starting his home Grand Prix. So bit of a recovery there for him, of course. And then for uh, George Russell, of course, the incident with Ollie Behrman there, DNF. I think that kind of hurt him there in the pit cycle, and that definitely didn't work out in his favor there to be able to win the race there. So um, yeah, for Kimi Antonelli, I mean, yeah, with the situation and everything, the schedule, they get a chance to sit on the point lead here until they go to Miami Grand Prix at the end of the or at the beginning of May. So be a good little while we don't have F1 racing here. But on the other hand, gives some of these other teams a chance to make up whatever deficit, for Ferrari deficit that they have to Mercedes right now. Of course, Red Bull trying to um, salvage what they can to keep Max Verstappen happy, if anything. So we'll see if that ends up playing out in any type of way. But yeah, it's going to be a good long break here. But especially with the way that the crash with Ollie Behrman shook out, obviously a lot of concerns for safety here with the closing speeds of these cars. With the battery and battery management. So it's definitely a fair discussion to have with if there needs to be any changes made here. So we'll see what they make out of it. But yeah, it was definitely a hard hit for Ali Behrman there. When with the wreck he had. So glad to see him come out of there okay and no injuries there. Certainly, definitely would be swift action to take if he did got injured there. But yeah, it was not a good look there. Regardless there, and everything. But yeah, for Stappen, I mean, yeah, it's definitely. I mean, he's contemplating retiring from F1. He'll go race GT3. I mean, shoot, let's get him into the truck. Let's get him into the truck series. So, yeah, why not? He races the truck series on iRacing. Let's experience it in real life. But nah, it's I mean, it's a fair discussion to have, and I mean, I think it's actually, I mean, yeah, it's bitch fest or whatever, but I mean, he's pretty much indicated that if it wasn't fun for him anymore, that he would stop doing this, and I mean, it's quickly seeming like it's not fun. For him. And I mean, there's a lot of criticism with this battery management regulation stuff with the way the power split is and how, especially like during qualifying, like you're not flat out like you are. And, you know, looks makes qualifying kind of look like a joke. And, a lot of people, you're kind of starting to pick up on, what this really is and everything. And, yeah, for, this series, I mean, it's not an endurance racing event. It's a hour and a half, at most 2 hours, um, race and everything. So, yeah, I wonder what, adjustments they'll make to to these regulations. But, certainly for Mercedes, they've hit the ball out of the park here with these rules and being able to take advantage of it. So we'll see what changes they make over this next month of having no racing. So we'll see what they do. But yeah, it's definitely a fair discussion to have as far as that. But yeah, the side bet that we had, of course, Aston Martin, of course, yeah, Alonso finished the race a lap down, and yeah, I read about some of the issues that they had throughout the weekend. It seems like on Friday they were testing out a different, I guess, different package or something, and the vibrations in the engine went away. But then they came back on Saturday during the practice and qualifying there. So we'll see what kind of um, changes they make, what kind of adjustments that they found, because they brought something, I guess, different for Friday that they could try out to try to fix the issues, and it seemed like it worked, but I guess they still need more data to figure out if they can implement it, for a whole weekend there. So that's interesting there. But yeah, El Padre finished the race there for first time this year. So um, yeah, I guess in its home track, the Honda engine was able to at least complete the race there. So, um, yeah, it's interesting there. But um, yeah, I mean, now we have a month off, and I mean, circumstances aside, I mean, to be honest, I'm not too like doesn't really bother me that we're missing out on racing at Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. I mean, it's 2 races, yeah, but like, like of the tracks to, not care about, I mean, like it doesn't really matter to me about, not racing in Saudi Arabia um, you know, Bahrain. I mean, if it was like Spa or Monza, yeah, it'd really suck, but you know, not really fan of those two tracks. So guess yeah, we get a month off until the Miami Grand Prix, which yeah, F1 coming back to Florida. It should be interesting here.
And there'll be more intrigue now with that Miami Grand Prix, uh, being that there'll be this long gap. Bahrain over the years has become all right, better for racing. I'm not sure if it was going to be so good with this car, considering the current circumstances, but yeah, any way we can avoid going to Saudi was fine by me. Um, After this Easter break, NASCAR will be back every week, anyways. IndyCar is only going to race once this month, next month. So, I mean, it's going to be a little leaner in April before it picks up again in May. For Formula One, though, I mean, for Kimi Antonelli, he goes out there, gets the job done, and is showing maturity well beyond his years. Piastri momentum run for him. What has been a downturn and downward spiral of sorts since the Dutch Grand Prix last year, looked like his old self, and that's a good thing. Outperforming Lando, and has been outperforming Lando for the most part. So when he's been able to be on track, so kind of shows that he's still there, still got it, and gives himself a boost heading into there. Yeah, if Verstappen wants to leave, it's whatever. He can go and run his GT3 car. He can run his sim, and what was it? Gluck and Bianchi were talking about how much money it would take for him to go and run an IndyCar or run NASCAR or whatever. We know NASCAR's full of cash, so if they really wanted to get Max Verstappen, they probably could. So that's, I know IndyCar ain't gonna do it, even though Roger Penske has enough money to go and give to Orangeade, but we'll see. And I don't, because he doesn't want to run ovals in an IndyCar, but you don't have to run ovals. You don't have to run Indy. I'm trying to think what other big track they run other than Indianapolis. I don't think they run any other big track. They only run short tracks after that. Phoenix is a 1 mile oval. So, I mean, if he wanted to run IndyCar, he really could. That would be cool. I could deal with that. At least I think he would actually not be such a dick if he was in an IndyCar. But it would be interesting to see him actually have to learn those cars and how heavy they are and whatever and manipulate it, but he'd probably be able to figure it out. We'll see what happens, but I think he'll be in a GT3 car, obviously, as you said, before we get to that point. Drivers' standings heading into this first break, month-long break of the season. Antonelli 9 points ahead of Russell. Leclerc 8 points out of Lewis Hamilton. Then the two McLaren. So Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren won in position in the first 6 spots. Piastri, with that second place finish, moves himself up to 6th in points. Bierman falls down to 7th. Gasly in 8th. Fischlip's 9th, 2 points ahead of Lawson. Lindblad and Hajar tied 11th and 12th. Going into this break, Hulkenberg still hasn't scored a point. Neither is Albon. Both Cadillacs and both Astons. Well, that takes the drama out of it. Cadillac, of course, the better finish, so that puts them 10th over Aston Martin. Williams only has 2 points. They're tied with Audi, 8th and 9th. Red Bull only has 2 points more than Toro Rosso. They're 6th and 7th. Alpine is tied with Red Bull for 5th. Haas is 4th. And then, as I mentioned, Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren, your top 3. 45 points gap, Mercedes over Ferrari. Then 44-point gap between Ferrari and McLaren. So there you go. That is Formula One. Done and dusted for a month. We'll go to the roundup here and doubleheader, first doubleheader of the season. Anytime they run at a permanent road course. So the results of the weekend there in Alabama, Grand Prix of Alabama, race 1 was Nikita Johnson over Enzo Fittipaldi, Tymek Kusharek, Max Garcia, Miles Rowe, your top 5. Alessandro Del Tullio and Max Taylor started on the front row, but they got into each other. And cost them. They ended up finishing 19th and 20th in the race. Pearson had issues both days, wrecked. Didn't even get out of the first lap there in that race. Otherwise, not a whole lot of movement. Ricardo Escoto from 13th to 7th, the one driver that kind of moved up. Jack Beaton 17th to 9th, the other one in race 1. And then in race 2, De Tullio led from pole, led every lap. Max Taylor finished second. Top 3 stayed the same. Nikita Johnson was third. Enzo Fittipaldi 4th. Kusharek was 5th. Jordan Missig 6th. Big mover Jack Beaton 15th to 9th. Josh Pearson started 9th but finished 14th. Max Garcia and Miles Rowe. Miles Rowe ended up hitting his teammate and affected both of their races. Ended up finishing at the back. The standings heading into a break before they run at the Indy road course for a doubleheader. Nikita Johnson has a 23-point lead on Max Taylor. Kusharek is third, minus 33. Enzo Fittipaldi, minus 39. Alessandro De Tullio is fifth, 60 points back. Those are your top 5 drivers in points. Correa, Hughes, Missig, Rowe, and Seb Murray are top 10. The MotoGP ran the U.S. Grand Prix this past weekend at Circuit of the Americas, and Marco Bezzecchi continues his winning ways. Winning a 4th consecutive race for 5th consecutive race, because he won the last 2 of last year and has won the first 3 of this year. So yeah, it's a 5th win in a row for Marco Bezzecchi. Red Bull US Grand Prix, beats his teammate Jorge Martin by just over 2 seconds. Pedro Acosta was third for KTM. Fabio Di Gianantonio started from pole, finished 4th. Marquez 5th. Marc Marquez, Enea Bastianini, Alex Marquez, Raul Fernandez. On the Trackhouse KTM or Trackhouse Aprilia was 8th. Luca Marini, Pecco Bagnaia was 10th. The Iagora had a chance to possibly get his first podium, ended up falling out. John Mir, I don't know if he crashed, but he seems to crash usually. The factory Yamahas, the 4 Yamahas finished at the back. Topak Raskadlioku ended up getting 1 point in 15th. So that's pretty depressing. Yeah, they're not in a good position there. The standings heading into Jerez for next race is Bezzecchi over Martin by 4 points. Martin had taken over the points lead briefly with his win in the sprint, but ended up crashing post-race too after the sprint, which is not great. Acosta, DG Antonio, Mark Marquez, your top 5, Fernandez, Algura, Alex Marquez, Bagnaia, and Luca Marini, your top 10. Alnea Bastianini ended up moving up to 11th. So the results for the Moto 2 saw Senna Agus getting the win over Celestino Vietti, Guevara, Alonso Gonzalez, your top 5. Joe Roberts actually got points. Look at that. Finished 9th. Welcome change after what has been a brutal recent trend here for him. And then go into Moto 3 out of curiosity. Salmia. O'Shea, Eddie O'Shea. Rios. Moodley was just out of the points. Buchanan. O'Gorman there. Also. Yeah. So the Moto 2, the standings for Moto 2, Gonzalez has a 3.5 point lead on Guevara. Holgado is in 3rd, Celestino Vietti in 4th. So really those 4 guys right now, only 7.5 points separating those 4. Munoz, Agus with the win moves himself up to 6th. Alonso, Eskrig, and Lopez and Ortola rounding out your top 10. Joe Roberts moves himself up to 15th in points after his 9th place finish. Salak is his teammate this year and has only scored 1 point. So he was still leading him before that. See them next at Jerez the end of April, so they'll have a month between races. So they'll be off too. That's convenient. Guess we'll be watching the UFL. Christ. Supercross was at Detroit last week, and the 250 main event saw Cole Davies get the win by 12.196 seconds over Seth Amaker. Joe Shimoda was 3rd. Cody Schock, Henry Miller, Daxton Bennick, Nicholas Romano. He was from Queens, huh? Finished 7th. There are the riders that actually finished on the lead lap. Guy from Pittsburgh there, huh? Right. And then the 450 main event saw Ken Roxon get the victory by 7.79 seconds over Chase Sexton, making his return after injury on the Kawasaki. Malcolm Stewart getting a podium there on the Husqvarna. Justin Cooper, Eli Tomac, your top 5. The story was Hunter Lawrence had issues. I think he crashed there at some point during the race, and that he had damage that rendered him finishing 18th. So even though Eli Tomac did not have his best race, he gained points and took over the points lead. Dylan Ferrandis returned from injury on the Ducati, finished seventh. Jordan Smith was the last bike on the lead lap in 11th there on the Triumph. Kawasaki had 2 bikes in the top 10 there. So there's that. That's okay. So then the points heading into, so for the 250 East, Cole Davies has won 3 consecutive rounds and has a second and a fifth. He's 9 points out of Seth Hamaker, who won at Daytona. And that was where Davies finished second. Joe Shimoda's third, 14 points back. That's really the battle for the championship, honestly. I mean, I guess Daxton Bennick has an outside chance, but that's really it. And then in the 450, Eli has a 4-point lead on Hunter Lawrence. He had given up, 8 points over the last 2 races, and then gained 13 on Saturday. So now he's 4 points ahead of Lawrence. He's only 14 ahead of Roxon. Cooper Webb's 26 back. So it's still a 4-rider race for the championship. 4 different manufacturers, no less. So that's pretty cool. Justin Cooper in his own island, really. Chase Sexton missed 3 rounds, and he's still 6th in the points. Joey Savacci, 7th. Malcolm Stewart, who had 2 last place finishes this season, is 8th. Jorge Prado's missed 3 races himself, is 9th. Then Justin Hill, 10th. Dylan Ferrandis, only 1 point, or 7, it's not 1 point, 7 points out of 10th. He missed 3 rounds, essentially. So, see how that goes over there. They'll be at St. Louis this weekend, and then the following weekend will be at Nashville, Cleveland, Philly, Denver, and then Salt Lake to end the season. So they'll be racing every week here the rest of this season. World Superbikes were at the Algarve in Portugal. And was Nicolo Balega ends up continuing to do work. Results there, he won all 3 races at Portugal. Iker Lecuona, his teammate, finished second in all 3 races, and Miguel Oliveira, the Portuguese rider in his home race, finished third in all 3 races. Garrett Gerloff ended up having a good performance in race 1. The Super Pole race, think, what was it? He only finished 14th in that one. And then in the second race, in race 2, he fell out late in that race. He crashed late in the race there, so went from possible top 10 in points to nothing there. So unfortunate loss of points there for him. But yeah, so then that we'll go to the points. Balega maximum points there so far. 124, 30, 54, 56-point lead on Lackawanna, who has an 8-point lead on Axel Bassani. Oliveira is now 4th. Alex Lowe's and his brother Sam are 5th and 6th. Garrett Gerloff 12th in points. 1 point behind Andrea Locatelli, 3 behind Alvaro Bautista in 10th. Gerloff is in there with Danilo Petrucci, only 7 points off of him, so still all to play for. 19 points behind Sam Lowe's, so could get up there in the top 5, but it's only a couple rounds into the championship. Their next race will be the Dutch TT at Assen before they race in Hungary, and they'll be busy in the month of May, so they'll have 3 races in the month of May there, so we're getting into, once they get into Assen, it'll start kind of picking up there. They do race at Estoril. Okay, so they race Estoril and they race the Algarve. Interesting. And then, what is it? It said Super Formula. Oh, this is going to be fun. Super Formula. Ayumu Iwasa was in Formula 2 over in recent years and past years. Luke Browning, the British driver. Ukio Sashara. Roman Stanek. Okay. From Czech driver. Ota. Kamui Kobayashi, who runs a Toyota program there. Charlie Wirtz. All right. I think that's Juju Noda, going by one name these days. Hideki Noda's daughter. Kenta Yamashita. He drives a Super GT, won the championship in 3 times there. Okay. Nobuharu Matsushita. Zach O'Sullivan. All right. Your boy Sasha Fenitraz. Her team Toms. Igor Fraga, who's Japanese-born Brazilian driver. Okay. Ren Sato. Most of these names aren't too bad, and then there are some international drivers there. Was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drivers that are from outside of Japan there, in Super Formula. Teams Yokohama. Calendar, driver changes. Cali Rovanpera. His withdrawal from the. Oh boy. Oh. Didn't know that. That Cali Rovanpera was diagnosed with benign paroxysmal positional vertigo. So now I don't know if that's the same thing that Alex Bowman has, but we probably kind of ask his one thing. You Kiyos Ashahara Super. Roman Stanek. Yeah, so there you go. Mobility Resort Motegi. Autopolis, Suzuka, There's 2 races there. So Motegi's that actually is that's that'll be this coming weekend. Yep. Then they'll be racing at Autopolis. They'll have a month break before they race Suzuka. Then they'll have a couple months before they race at Fuji, Sugo. Wow, they have huge gaps. It's kind of crazy. Interesting. All right. Yeah, so let us move forward into our picks preview here for the Rock. Return last year, they repaved the track at Rockingham. They'll be racing on Friday for the trucks. Black's Tire 200 and 38 for 36. So there will be a couple of vehicles that go home. Oh, look at that. Cale Gale is a crew chief for Ben Rhodes. Interesting. Let's see here. So, yeah, Corey Heim will be in the 1 for Tricon. Luke Baldwin making his truck debut for Rayum. Connor Hall making his debut for Nice. Mike Shiplett, the crew chief there. Adam Andretti driving for Tricon in the number 5. Sammy Smith in the number 7 for Spire. Oleg has not named anybody for the number 10. Or is Corey LaJoy? Corey LaJoy is running the 25, yeah, so that's interesting. They still don't have anybody for number 10. Wonder if they're going to call AJ Allmendinger to do it again. Go through, Corey LaJoy there in the 25. Clayton Green, 22 for Ayum. Parker Eatman for Nice in the 42. Landon Lewis in the 45. Michael Christopher Jr. Will also be in a Mohawk Northeast truck. Another modified driver, someone who drove in the Ram race for a seat. The MBM number 69 truck doesn't have a driver. Carson Hocevar will be in the 77 per Spire. Justin Carroll and his family number 90. Caleb Costner and his own number 93 there. So that's the entry list. Let us see here. So picked first. So Josh, you get first dibs here. Who are you looking at as a winner and a wild card for Friday afternoon's race? Good Friday race at Rockingham.
Yeah, racing on Good Friday. How about that? Yeah, I'll go with Coach Hawk here. Go with Corey Heim win at Rockingham here in the 1 car. So yeah, I'll pick him as my winner. Wild card. This is tough. I'll go with Mini Tyrell, my wild card this week.
All right. So Craftsman trucks at Rockingham. Josh goes Corey Heim to win, and Mini Tyrell wild card. For me, I'll go with Caden Honeycutt to get his first career win. And then my wild card will be Michael Christopher Jr. in his truck debut. So Glenn and Michael Christopher Jr. Kart. See how that goes. Move over. Didn't even have to look at the points for that one. O'Reilly Series will be the North Carolina Education Lottery 250. Actual 250 laps in that race. It says 39 for 38, so one vehicle will go home. The 5 for Hettinger is actually going to be driven by J.J. Ailey this week. What's it called there? Brent Cruz, another week in the 19. Nick, sponsor there. Blaine, Andrew Patterson, another race with the 32. And then Cletus McFarland attempting to make the his O'Reilly Series debut with the Tommy's Express Car Wash number 33. Robert Stramiska is his crew chief. The Gase number 35, no driver listed. Blake Lothian and the 55. Nobody listed in the 42 for Youngs as of right now. Roger Cruz running the 88 again. LeBay in the 91 for DGM. And Dawson Graham driving my Carmen 74. So I will go first here. And my winner for this weekend's race will I'll go chalk and I'll go Justin Allgaier. Go Justin Allgaier to win. And then my wild card, I have to bring up the point standings here in terms of drivers. Maybe do the owners and make a little bit of a difference. There's 28 drivers. So could go. I mean, it's a reach, but he hasn't run every race this year, so I'm going to take Brent Cruz. Let's see here. So O'Reilly Series at Rockingham. Bill goes with Justin Allgaier, Glenn and Brent Cruz. Wild card. All right, Josh. It's all on you. See who you pick for winner and wild card.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm gonna go with Corey Day to win his first career Riley Series race here at Rockingham, and then wild card. Of course, he left one up for me here, and I'm gonna go and take Cletus McFarland here. It's a wild card. Let's see what he can do. I mean, I think he can qualify for the race at least. But let's see what he can do.
Who was the asshole that had RCR equipment and then failed to qualify? There's some douchebag who was an ARCA guy, and he had money, but he ran over people. I'm forgetting his name. He was a douche. And then he failed to qualify in an RCR number 33. This is a few years ago.
Oh, this is
Is
yeah. I think I remember you or this too, but I don't remember who the driver was.
I'm gonna is I feel like it was at Michigan. I'll look it up while you tell us what's going on in the world of iRacing in the sim segment.
Okay, yeah, that's a good plan there. Yeah, I'm trying to remember that too, as I feel like I vaguely remember something on that one. But anyways, yeah. Excuse me. iRacing, yeah, for me on yeah, iRacing, yeah, I mean, we had talked about 12 hours of Sebring and everything. I mean, that yeah, that went down over the weekend. You know, we were on iRacing. That was the main event. But yeah, I wasn't able to get in on that one. I mean, first of all, didn't have enough really have enough time throughout the week to practice or anything like that, and yeah, I hadn't signed up for it and with any other team there. But did run some laps on Sebring in the LMP2 car. Try to learn as I've really liked running the LMP2 car, but hadn't really run it on Sebring. But I did run some practice laps. On like Friday night, try to see what I how to drive that track on the LMP2 car, and yeah, it was pretty enjoyable running that track. So just have to practice on that and get more comfortable in the LMP2 car overall to running that. But yeah, I did run iRacing though in general over the weekend. Yeah, ran Daytona, the '87 car, got wrecked on lap 10 because I chose to run the high line in 3 and 4, and then the guy in front of me bounced off the wall, got loose, started spinning, then overcorrected back to the right and right into me, and then that took me out there. And then tried to run the Gen 4 car at Texas on the old Texas, and then front stretch, um, you know, battling for 12th place side by side. I move up just ever so slightly and get hooked right into the wall. So it was my mistake there, misjudged it completely, and then got hit hooked into the wall. So a little bit of misfortune here on the old track side, and then and I did run the Cup Series at Martinsville, and then of course, I mean, we talked about the O'Reilly Series, Truck Series at Martinsville. I mean, it's the same deal on iRacing as well, just caution fest. Barely any green flag runs or anything like that. In a 55 lap race, Martinsville for the NASCAR iRacing fixed Cup Series. So, yeah, it was. That's why I don't really run Martinsville that much. Maybe they should run the Xfinity. Maybe that would have, or the O'Reilly, the open setup one that would have maybe been a little bit better. But it's always just been, short tracks are always just a caution fest on iRacing. So, there's always a lot of contact as well. So you always end up with like, 8x at least on incidents there. So, I always end up maybe only running that less, 1 or 2 races, if anything, whenever the series is at that track on the schedule. But um, and then I did uh, GR86 at St. Petersburg and was running well there, top 10, and then was it the one corner before Pioneer Park where, they're all kind of flat. It's like the kink corner. Like these two guys try to go side by side, and then they took other out, and the guy just ricocheted off the wall into me. So um, that was a kind of a misfortune weekend of iRacing, just getting collected in other people's stuff. For the most part, though, could always do a better job of avoiding incidents. So always way to improve no matter what. But um, yeah, that was my iRacing weekend, of course. And then, Saturday, I mean, yeah, Saturday was, I think, the main time slot for the 12 hours of Sebring. And then, the way my weekend went, ended up going to the, get, like, we talked about it offline. I went to go get my bowling ball fixed. So getting that drilled in right now, pick it up later in the week, um, you know, and all that. So, um, might have to start talking more about bowling if I, get good at it and everything, get into the league and everything like you are. So we'll see. We'll see if we do that. But I've been bowling more times than I've been go karting the past year, so that tells you something. I'm trying something else here, but um, you know, it's a little bit less costly to go bowling, I think overall, but than race. But try to be good at both sports that go in circles in a way. So trying to expand beyond racing and all that. But yeah, iRacing, yeah, I think, yeah, this week on iRacing, I mean, I think Rockingham's on the calendar for O'Reilly and the Truck Series. Let me just pull up the schedule real quick. Um, Upcoming races here. Um, yeah, Cars Tour at Myrtle Beach here. That's interesting. IndyCar Fixed Oval Series at Pocono. Toyota GR86 at Brands Hatch Circuit there. The other IndyCar Fixed Series is at Texas on the Oval. Um, Sports Car Challenge C Class GT4 Series at Sonoma on the Sports Car alternate course. Um, the 87 cars are at the Milwaukee Mile. Production Car Challenge is at the St. Petersburg Grand Prix. Got let's see here. Trying to look what else. What else? Let's see. The GT3 Regional Tour America Tour is at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Got Arc Menards also at Rockingham this weekend as well. LMP2 Challenge at Hockenheimring. Um, Trying to see if there's the Cup Series. The Cup Series, I guess now the Cup Series is on off week, so iRacing puts them at Las Vegas. So that's an interesting choice for off weekend, especially since we just went to Las Vegas like a couple weeks ago. So, or 3 weeks ago, whatever it was for iRacing or for real life NASCAR, which iRacing mirrors 90% of the time. So, you'd think on an off week that they would try to pick a track where they NASCAR doesn't normally go to, something like that, but that's interesting or anything like that. So, um, yeah, and then I think there might be some residual series at Sebring this week as well for iRacing. But yeah, that's on the agenda for iRacing this week. Of course, I think looking at the news for iRacing this week, March 31st to April 6th. Yeah, let's see, yeah, I think a lot of weekly series that are off this week. Yeah, NASCAR, NASCAR modified tour is off this week. IndyCar iRacing series is off. Next race will be at Long Beach for the IndyCar iRacing series. There. Let's see what else. NASCAR iRacing series. So I guess the NASCAR iRacing series open setup and fixed setup is at Bristol. I guess wow, that's this week. I guess during an off week, I guess they'll still have racing on the official full length NASCAR series on there. So, in addition to the short sprint series for NASCAR for Cup. So, yeah, it was for iRacing, of course. That's all we got this week. Of course, follow streams at UCLR2 on Twitch. Follow me on Twitter, JP Huffine on there, and then follow the YouTube channel, Grip Share Podcast on YouTube, and then follow my personal photography page for racing and rocket launches, of course, at Josh Huffine Photography on Instagram. So follow me on there, and yeah, um, it's all I got for this week. Of course, limited action this weekend at Rockingham, though certainly be entertaining to see what Cletus McFarland can do in real Xfinity car here, or Riley Series car here this weekend. So saw a video, or well, saw somebody link a video to him doing a test. So I'm gonna have to go watch that after this and see how he did, and definitely bring some extra attention to that race here this weekend. So yeah, looking forward to all that and doing all that. So yeah, glad to be able to talk about it, of course, here this week.
Yeah, absolutely. We always do it. Been doing it for around 7 years now, so it's always great. Something to look forward to every week. And yeah, that was a video in terms of his test. It was like almost an hour session. Stockman, Ty Dillon, all these people that are part of RCR were at that test. So it was pretty serious. Almost wiped himself out. He half spun there at one point, but otherwise was a clean test. Ran 200 something laps in that test. All of this, of course, with the goal of trying to be able to run the O'Reilly Series race at Talladega in an RCR car, which, when you think about it, Jeffrey Earnhardt once upon a time almost won in a RCR car there a few years ago. It would be not a complete, not the same level, but we'll see if he's able to get through Rockingham and be able to do that. But yeah, you can find me at PGMatthew28 on Insta, or PGMGSP28 on Instagram, PGMatthew28 on Twitter. Find the Gripstrip Podcast, obviously, on our YouTube page, as Josh mentioned. Gripstrip Podcast, YouTube, and then GSP1428, PhilipGMatthew.com. You can also find me on Motorsports Reports, doing content for George and Jared and them. I was on the Grid Talk a few weeks ago for Japan. Yeah, you can find the Gripstrip Podcast on podbean.com. So thanks as always for listening. Happy Easter to those who celebrate. There's other, of course, we got other Passover, and we had Eid a couple weeks ago there, so my bad, I'm not missing on that. But to you and your loved ones, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing, liking the whole bit. Tell your friends about us. And yeah, we'll be back next week for episode 310 of the Gripster Podcast to recap Rockingham for O'Reilly Series and Trucks. We'll preview Cup O'Reilly at Bristol the following week, and everything else going on in the world of motorsports, and maybe get some NFL draft coverage even in there too. We'll talk about it on the Gripster Podcast. So for Josh, I'm Phil. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.